My name is Toby Tansil, for those of you who weren't here, who don't remember me. I am the owner of two businesses. One is called Impact Basketball in Michigan. It's actually a franchise that has locations across the nation. The central headquarters is in Las Vegas. Like I was telling you guys last time, we're working with pretty prominent athletes. Rudy Gay, Kyle Lowry, Kevin Garnett when he was younger, and guys like that, some real prominent players. So here in Michigan, we work with some really prominent guys as well. You guys may or may not know them, Alex Legion, Kayla Lucas, Jay Youngblood, just name a few. So that's my most prominent business. What I do is I design programs for the athletes to keep them healthy, nutritional components for them, make sure that their body composition stays right, because the owners of pro basketball teams are really serious about that. And the other business that I have, actually the co-owner is here as well, it's called SupportCircleDetroit.com. So it's a black business directory that like these flashing my eyes. It's a black business directory that's centered around cooperative economics. What cooperative economics is people in the community doing business amongst themselves to increase the dollar in the community. So we introduce people in the community to different businesses that we actually patronize, that we know do this service. And not only that, but we also do a monthly project for people your age. And in that monthly project, we take kids around the city and introduce them to resources they normally wouldn't have acclimation or wouldn't have access to. So this is part of what Support Circle Detroit does, is create awareness. So I take the position that awareness for kids your age is extremely important, because you guys are, I hate to sound cliche and say you're the future, but you're the leaders that are going to take everything that we've done thus far to the next level. What you guys do is the ultimate investment for us. So you guys, parents, invest in your education and invest time and invest resources. So you guys mean a lot. You mean the world. You're the future world leaders. Just being real. So I told a few people before, I like to change that. I told a few people before, this gentleman that you guys told me about. Okay. Don't worry about it. I told him, what was that? What was I telling you guys? Don't worry about it. But to make a long story short, because I don't want to be too verbose, we're going to get started on this film, which is called Out of Darkness. All right, this is the next venture that I've gotten into. Actually, I'm promoting the film around the city of Detroit, around the state of Michigan, and I want to get it involved into school. So you guys have the proud position of being the first college that I did a screening for Out of Darkness. It's a very, very powerful film. If I was to give you a brief synopsis, I would say it's about history, African American history, racism, and hip hop. So who all in the crowd listens to hip hop? All right, cool. So for you guys that do listen to hip hop, you get an understanding of where it started and how important it is to our culture. It's not just music, it's actually a huge part of our culture. So before we get started with the film, does anybody have any questions for me? No, a friend of mine made it. His name is Amadeus Christ. A good friend of mine, he created the film. Some of the people that are involved in the film are my personal teachers. So a lot of the information that you guys want to learn today, I've had to do an extensive amount of research and reading, so you're going to get it in a very condensed and entertaining version. Now, the great part about it is one of the main people that's in the film is a person by the name of Dr. Kaba Kamine. We're going to have an event in May 7th and May 8th, where he's actually going to come out to Detroit and do a lecture. Not only a lecture, but he's also going to do a walkthrough of the Charles Wright Museum. How many of you guys been to the Charles Wright? Awesome, awesome. So you're going to get to take a tour of the Charles Wright Museum through the eyes of one of the best African American historians in this country. A brilliant brother. So I definitely would like for you guys to come out to that if possible. Would you guys be interested in coming out to something like that? All right. Now, it was a quote that I want to read to you before we get started. It goes like this. Expanding your circumference of awareness. The space inside this circle, so can everybody make a circle? The space inside the circle represents my realm of knowledge. Everything that I think I know about whatever I think I know is represented with this circumference of this circle. I must keep in mind that there are still things to know that exist outside of my circumference of awareness. So, what that basically means is, a lot of things in this film will challenge you. Some things you may agree with, some things you may not. The main thing I want you to take from it is just to think. Because thinking is the most critical element to your growth. You don't want to shut off your mind and say, well, that makes me uncomfortable, so I don't want to think. No, do the research yourself. Find out what you can validate on your own and build on what you know. To me, that's the critical element of this movie. That's the critical element of a lot of things that we do in terms of creating awareness for you guys. So I'm going to talk to you all now. I want to know if you guys got any questions for me. Anything, doesn't matter. Cool. 2 years. 2 years. And I'm glad you asked that question because the next project, how many of you guys are from Detroit? The next project that we're doing is actually going to be about Detroit. I don't know if you all know, but we had a place in Detroit called Black Bottom in Paradise Valley. Does that sound familiar? No. Okay. It was an independent community that a lot of black people, not a lot, all black people have to live in due to Jim Crow segregation laws. So we were restricted to living in one single area, and that was Black Bottom. And upon living in those circumstances, we still thrived. We still created our own businesses. We had over 300 businesses. We had schools, we had hospitals, we had a lot of things that we needed to sustain the community. And a lot of people may disagree, but in practical form, we were actually doing better economically than we probably are today. Right? And that's because when integration happened, a lot of the businesses that we did have closed down, and we chose to work for other people. Now, one of the reasons that I say mistakes like that happened and occurred is because we didn't have a fortress of cultural awareness to make us take pride in ourselves and who we were as a community. So I think that this will raise our level of cultural awareness. So you guys that came out, I'm extremely glad you did. Very happy to see you guys. We're going to get started with the film.
Hold on one second. So we're going to hit the light. I got my right now. Yeah.
As we begin to look at who we are as a people, and as we look at the contributions of African people to the world, Professor John Henry Clark often told us that the missing pages of world history is African history. And once you understand the role that Africa has played in the shaping of our intellectual world, in terms of the things that we have achieved as a people, you will begin to understand why there is a war on history. And when you're dealing with a war on history, you're doing more than that. What you have to do is understand and look at the work of Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, the brilliant Senegalese scholar, who wrote a book, The African Origins, Myth or Reality, Civilization or Barbarism, the Cultural Unity of Black Africa. And as he developed his understanding, he said that for a people to oppress another people, this has nothing to do with African culture or European culture. This is people to people. If you want to oppress a people, there are three things that you take from them. You take their history, you take their language, and you take their psychological factor. Their psychological factor are what we call VIPs. Dr. Leonard Jeffries calls them the values, the interests, and the principles of a people. Take those from them. Take their history, take their language, take their values, interests, and principles, and then superimpose your history, your language, your values, interests, and principles on them, and no matter what conclusion they come to in the challenge they face, they will always act in the interest of the oppressor that took their history, language, and their values, interests, and principles. So when we wonder why the choices we make never serve our best interests, you've got to change the paradigm. You have to study your history. You have to study your language, your values, interests, and principles.
So, what y'all think so far? Wait.
I believe that it was very powerful in education. That's it.
Why?
He said, they were saying a lot of things that I really didn't know. Well, I knew, but some people were saying that it was not true, that black people was like the first people like in the world or whatever, and like made a lot of things. So I didn't really think that that was true, but now I really believe it. Because some people say it's not true, but now I do. I believe it.
What's your name?
Monica Mitchell.
Nice to meet you, Monica Mitchell. Good job. The thing that I told you guys at the very beginning is make sure you research and validate the information that you just learned. At the end of the day, the most important thing and the most critical part of this whole thing is for you guys to think. You know, don't believe what anyone says. Figure it out, find out for yourself, but most importantly, think. Anybody else?
Captain Thompson. What I found interesting is that me growing up where I came from, like the Black Mountains of Detroit, I got family that grew up there, so I kind of know how it was back then. I'm just not totally sure because I didn't get there. But what I found interesting was that I always thought that black civilization came from Rome, like Europe. I didn't think it originated in Egypt, like the basis of the culture, the basis of the writing, the paper, the hieroglyphs, stuff like that. I always thought us becoming civil came from Rome, because found like the foundation of it at least. I figured it would transfer everywhere else, but I thought the basis of it was in Rome, was in Europe, Greece. I didn't think it was in Egypt. So that was real eye-opening to me. The fact that most of Egypt's religious gods and goddesses were based on black people's history of us discovering it instead of Greek mythology that was based and discovered by black people. So that was real interesting. So.
The words, man, I appreciate that. Anybody else?
I'm gonna take one more.
Announcer Child. I just appreciate that because like in history we've been robbed of
You got some kick, don't it?
Huh?
You got some kick, don't it, on that mic, huh?
Yeah. We've been robbed of like our accomplishments and our skills. And I appreciate that it said that we were traveling the world far before anybody else, and appreciate that we brought knowledge to the world too, like all type of advancements and help them.
I'm gonna take one more person. All right, so we got one girl and 3 guys. We have to switch this around. I want to hear what the ladies think. Here you go, young sir.
My name is Stefan Newburn. What I found interesting was the fact that it was actually planned to where in social studies books and whatnot, our history was never explained. like, I found it interesting that it was purposely not put in there. So that's pretty much it.
Again, the most critical element is to get you guys to think. So within a 42-minute period, if you're able to process that much information and realize the oppression and injustice that happened to your culture is extremely powerful, and it made this entire trip worth it. So we're going to go into another segment. It's going to be a little more intense, I'll say that. Then we're going to have a short Q&A like we just did, and then we're going to keep going from there. You guys ready for the next part? All right.
Yeah.
Actually not true all the time, so I also found that interesting about what they were saying that actually happened. I knew that, or found out that Egyptians were actually African, so because like their features and their and the way that they look and how they like live and go about life, I guess.
Well, to further elaborate on that, the actual name was Kemet, and it literally means land of the blacks. So it's almost undeniable. It isn't about perception, it's about truth. And our truth is an extremely powerful truth because our truth reveals other people's lies. Does that make sense? So when actually a friend of mine sent me this quote 2 weeks ago, it was extremely powerful. She said, when you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. So, let's keep it. Y'all still with me? All right, I cut it a little shorter than what we did the first time because I wanted to make sure that everybody was still completely engaged. I see a couple people had to go. So I'm gonna leave it up to y'all. Y'all wanna keep going or y'all wanna just kick it? Keep it rolling? All right, we got any questions in the interim? Let's go, let's keep it rolling. Right, that's left in here, we still good? What y'all thinking? Is it deep? Is the information not only informative, but also constructive to you guys' life? All right, if anybody has any questions, raise your hand. I know in particular there was one young brother in here that had a question for me. Trying not to put him on the spot.
Where was that located?
Okay. The question, what's your name again, young sir? Sean. All right. What Sean asked me, in essence, was how can I find more information about the figures that was in the film? Is that something that you guys are curious about? All right. I'm passing out some of the cards to our business, support.circledetroit.com. I have my number on there, email, and something I want you guys to do, if you could, go to your phones and go to the page, support.circledetroit.com, and you can hit the Facebook like button, like that page. If you're ever in Detroit, we got a directory that lets you know where the black-owned business establishments that we patronize are. So we got a lot of stuff in Detroit we got laundromats, of course we got restaurants, we even got driver's ed company, it's things as small as that. So which part of that segment of the film did you guys find the most powerful?
The last one. Act 2. I'm assuming.
I can't hear you, young sister.
I said Act 2, I'm assuming. That was the last one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which part was most powerful to you?
The white Jesus Christ.
Yeah, when Dr. Umar Johnson spoke about architectural programming, I think that segment of it was really important because that's it's a touchy subject for people. For instance, my mom has to deal with me all the time. I'm her oldest son, And I tell her, you know, a lot of the images that we were taught were false, and they actually are in our image. Because how can someone come from a region that creates dark people and not necessarily be dark? How can someone go to Egypt at the age of 12 and is able to hide amongst Africans if he doesn't look like it? Yet my mom's like, go somewhere. Get out my face, go somewhere. And she still has, you know, her image in her room. She'd probably kill me for telling y'all that, but it's important. So that segment of the movie is touchy, but it's good information to know. The people in the film are definitely people that I think you guys should be aware of, should find books and information from. Dr. Joy DeGruy, in particular, she made a book called Post-Traumatic Slavery Disorder. It's a very, very powerful book. She's a PhD who's done a ton of studies. In one of her chapters, she spoke directly about Karl von Linnaeus and Johann Blumenbach. They talk about it a little bit in the film. And these people, one of them, Karl von Linnaeus, went to school for a week. And he said after his week of schooling that he can tell everything about every race and segment the races in accordance to superiority. So, of course, you guys got to go to school every day so you know how important and how extensive school can be. You can't do that in a week. So is there any other things I can answer for you guys in the meantime? Y'all ready for the last segment? Y'all still good? All right, this mic is so weird, so excuse me if I like smile a lot. Plus, I'm really happy to see as many guys in here as it is. I did this screening at the Carnegie Library in downtown Jackson, and we got 8 adults to come out. The beautiful thing about young people is you guys you're still creating yourself. You're not stuck in your ways, you're still growing. And to mentally grow enough just to be here right now, you don't have to be, is very impressive to me. So, just to wake you guys up, give yourself a hand. All right?
I know you already asked us any more questions. I had to get the goods.
No, go ahead.
Okay, like you said, religion is a personal thing. It's like, so you got advice about your own personal journey. Like, I want to like figure something out on my own instead of what I've been taught for so long. Not saying what I believe is wrong. It's just I have no way of knowing how, you know, to branch out and to figure out what what I believe, like genuinely me as a person, as an adult now. I don't really know.
That's a great question. So I guess you're asking me for advice about your personal journey. All right, I'm going to, a couple of my teachers, 2 of them are in this movie, Dr. Kaba Kamene and Sabir Bey. I just spoke with them a couple days ago. Very, very bright brother. But, and also a guy from Detroit named Michael Imhotep. And also, my guy Dale Rich right here. This guy, he won't tell you because he's extremely humble, but he is one of the best photographers and historians in the city of Detroit. He knows the city of Detroit like you guys know the Jets hangar building. So we just spent 6 hours yesterday getting film research for our Detroit project. So I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have really good teachers. So I say that to say, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. So you have to seek guidance. Now, everybody's journey is their independent journey. One of the best philosophers that I've ever read is a person by the name of Neely Fuller Jr. He created a book called The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a textbook workbook for victims of racism, which is white supremacy. That's actually the title of the book. It's funny to me. But the key word is united independent. So independently, you have to find yourself, you have to go on your own journey. But if we follow a united code, it's best for the collective. Does that make sense?
Just to add on to what you were saying, personally, that was something I struggled with when I came into knowledge of self, was the faith. That really holds your mind, and you really get mentally enslaved to that. I think you got to dig into your culture. Your culture will let you know exactly what you should be doing. You know what I mean? Just immerse yourself in culture. You know, I mean, it's obviously if you've been absorbing any of this, you obviously there's been a miseducation. You know, socially engineered to stay away from self. So once you get that knowledge of self, just cement yourself in that. And like you was mentioning, you guys still have that creative intelligence. It's important to use that as you grow to network with each other. You're not gonna always, once you graduate from this, the dominant power might keep you out of positions that you should be, that should be available to you. But you have to use your creative intelligence to build with each other. You gotta definitely support the group and see support. Lose sight of that as a people.
What's your name, brother?
Baye.
Baye?
Yeah.
All right. To piggyback off of what Brother Baye said, in Powernomics, which is Dr. Claude Anderson's book, he spoke about cultural importance being a fortress to protect economic assets and community. So you learn about your culture to learn about the importance of a collective. In a Western civilization, we're taught about rugged individualism. You guys probably sound like crazy words to you, but we're taught it's survival of the fittest. You get yours, you take care of yours, and forget everyone else. In our culture, in peoples of colors culture, the collective is more important than the individual. For instance, you'll hear a family say it's always enough food. That's directly African. You hear the African proverb, it takes an entire village to raise a single child. Those are customs that we have. You hear a lot of your parents say, when I was younger, the neighbor could whoop you. That's reflective of the entire community being more important than one individual. So we don't have to, but it'll be to our benefit and it'll be constructive for us to get back to that mindset. So you guys are here at the college, right? As opposed to bickering and infighting, which, you go do. But you gotta make sure that each other is okay, because other people definitely will band together and do the same. You guys understand what I'm saying? Part of the reason that I came here for this is because I had two nieces go here. One last year and one the year before last, and they both got kicked out. Because these concepts, they didn't have an understanding of. Had they had an understanding of these concepts, they'd be here right now, continue their education, as opposed to in Detroit scrambling trying to figure things out. So you don't have to always like each other and get along, but follow a collective code to make sure that you guys are okay. So what y'all think? Did y'all find the hip hop part of it interesting? Why?
It's still relevant.
Who said that?
It's still relevant.
Why you say?
Why is it still relevant?
Yeah.
You listen to hip hop every day? All the time.
It's interesting seeing y'all generation because somehow, some way, I feel like this is my the position that I take. I feel like there's a spiritual and cultural connection that's being reinvigorated in y'all. When I see the young brothers wearing their hair, you know what I mean, and the little naughty froze, like that was stuff that we did back in the day. That's literally part of our heritage. When I see Kendrick Lamar go on the show and end up putting an image of Africa with Compton on it, he's still being relevant to where he's from right now. We're paying homage to his cultural ancestry. When I see Beyonce do the performance that she did at the Super Bowl, rocking an X across her chest for Malcolm and coming out with the Black Panther image like that, you can see it being reinvigorated and reinforced in y'all. And it's a cultural shift that has come that I don't even know if y'all aware of. But when I see it, it's powerful. Y'all sitting here right now is reflective of that power. So it's very interesting. What are some of the opinions after watching that movie? What are some of the thoughts that you guys have? Whoever raised their hand, that's what I'm gonna call them.
Just to remember the importance of who we are, where we came from, and just knowing that future reference.
Anybody else?
Just that African Black history is all around us. We're only down to math. When we talk about the equation signs, honestly, God, how many people struggle with math? 139? Okay. How many people struggle with math? And this is the thought I had. Somebody told me, they said, what if everything you did, you knew you were going to be successful at? Would you do those things? I was like, I would do everything I could possibly do because I know that I'm going to be successful. What if you knew that math started with you? And Black History Hitler, the idea of cognitive dissonance, that was huge. That's a huge concept. That's one that you all, especially you, because you're learning so much, the idea that what you've learned and what you're learning doesn't match. Like, and that confusion of it, that's powerful. And as students, every day you go to the classroom, every time you reflect on what you learned, every time you reflect on everything that you have learned and somebody taught you throughout your life, you're going to deal with that confusion. And how you deal with that is going to be powerful. That idea is huge. That's the biggest thing that I took from this movie. That idea of cognitive dissonance and how what we're learning and how the world is entered to us. It could be an agenda. It could be fake. It could be something that you have to be smart enough to deflect and smart enough to break down. That's huge. And that's the big thing I learned.
Kind of tag along with that. I feel like cognitive dissonance, like everybody that sat here and watched the movie is kind of like, we watched the movie, but I think it's important that for everybody who didn't watch the movie, like we pass on the information, like we don't fall right back into line with everything else right after we watch the movie. I think that it's kind of like our responsibility, like if you have the mindset to be different or like get away from, you know that this is wrong or you want to get away from like the system, like to not impose, but like help others out. You might not reach that point yet or may not know.
It's a very good point, man. So many things I want to piggyback off, but I don't want to be the one I don't want to be a chatty patty. But I'm gonna touch on a couple of things that you said. Harriet Tubman had a quote, her most powerful quote, in my opinion. She said, "I freed hundreds of slaves. I would have freed thousands if only they knew they were slaves." Get it? Kwame Ture, or Stokely Carmichael of the Black Panther Party, he's quoted as saying, "It is the job of the conscious to allow the unconscious to know about their unconsciousness."
102, 63.
Get it?
Kwame Ture?
Yeah.
He's also part of SNCC.
And he's also part of SNCC, which
The Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And it is those students that made things in the world. If you follow the civil rights movements, it wasn't the old preachers and the old folks. It was those young folks, those young college students, I believe, that went to jail every day. Particularly in the South, because their parents couldn't go to jail. They had to work. So while the parents would work, the students were protesting. They were fighting. And the end result, you got some recognition in terms of civil rights acts and voting rights acts. In fact, I'm 67 years old. When I was in high school, when I wanted to go to college, I couldn't afford $5 to get the little picture, And you had to have an application and a picture. And I couldn't get the picture. Now, there's nothing like it now. But it's so difficult to get in. But as people fought and struggled and marched and protest, colleges began to say, "Well, come on, we need you." Some colleges said, "We don't have enough men, enough black men, come in for free." So things have changed, but the students, like you right now, made that change. And so you have been deputized by your ancestors to follow their footsteps, not go to sleep, not go to Wall Street and come back home. take the knowledge that you get, bring it home, bring it to the nation.
And also a quick story that Dale told me that really stood out to me. Said when he was at George Washington University, his teacher made a declaration to the class to find any contributions to American society that blacks had made outside of, was it Booker T. Washington?
And George Washington.
And George Washington Carver. The professor actually told Dale, well, you don't have to come to class tomorrow. What teacher tells a student, you don't have to come to class? That was an example of superiority surfacing. My agenda is to explain in a rational way why we are the dominant race over these inferior people. So these type of stories, they actually happen all the time. And I'm glad that he touched on that subject of SNCC, because people your age are, the energy is changing. It's a difference. Black Lives Matter. Majority of young people. How many of you guys have heard of New Era Detroit? Powerful, powerful organization right in the city of Detroit. It's over 150 brothers and sisters who stand up for the justice of our people in our community. And the head of the organization is 30 years old. Majority of the people are 19, 20, like y'all. So this is stuff that you guys need to be aware of. You need to know about Dr. Umar Johnson, who has a book called Psychoacademic Holocaust Against Black Boys. And that's for my young brother back there with the basketball. Dr. Umar Johnson, Psychoacademic Holocaust Against Young Black Boys. Dr. Joy DeGride, Post-Traumatic Slavery Disorder. Dr. Claude Anderson, you guys might want to take notes on this. Dr. Claude Anderson, Powernomics. Tony Browder, Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. That's how you find these people. Remember what I said. If the student is ready, the teacher will come. For instance, Dale, I just happened to go to an event at the Charles Wright Museum, and fortunately, I probably got on his nerves, and he probably got tired of me calling and asking him questions, but he's been educating me about the city that I grew up in and its history. All stuff that I never knew. Never knew. There was a dude named Greensleeves. They called him Greensleeves because when it was burning hot outside, he'll walk around in a lime green outfit who they blamed the 67 riot on because he wouldn't back down from the police. And he told the community, we don't have to back down from them. And they stood up to an oppressive Gestapo organization who was like physically dominating them, and they fought back. So I say all that to say that you guys have that power, you guys have that intellectual prowess. And the great thing is you're young, so to get all this game right now is crazy. What prompted this entire thing for me was the movie Hidden Colors. How many of you guys seen Hidden Colors? All right, I saw Hidden Colors 3 about a year and a half ago. And my brother Keo back there, also my business partner, or supportcircledetroit.com. Did you guys go to the website? All right. After we watched the movie, what I love about my brother Keo, and make sure you surround yourself with the right type of people. The cameraman, this is Derek Denham. He has an organization called Prep Stars. He has helped me film a lot of the basketball players that I work with. Very good brother. He helps our organization grow by referring people to us. We do the same, so we build. My brother Keo, I grew up with him. We're building a business. Dale, he's helping me make this film. So this is all aggregation of resources. We're coming together to do things like this for you guys. Does that make sense? Go back to Keo. After we watched the film on my birthday, because that's what prompted this entire thing, he said, well, I mean, it was good. Keo never impressed by nothing, by the way. He said, yeah, I mean, it was good. But the only people that's going to watch that is people that already know about that stuff. So Keo don't know it, but he actually challenged me. He knows this about me. I'm going to take a challenge head on. So I've taken it upon myself to find people who can help me give this information to people who may not know about it. How many of you guys knew about Tony Browder or Dr. Claude Anderson? So we got close to 20 people that never heard of these people, and now y'all know. But going back to the young brother who said you want to give the information, never bark information at people. You always give it, you always present it in a question form. So what if, in a quote-unquote post-racial society, we only have 2% of the nation's wealth? Is that justice? Light bulb comes on. No, that's wrong. What if we make up 13% of the population, but 51% of the prison population? Is that justice? Hell no, that's wrong. What if we were lied to about our history? That ain't right. Ding ding, light bulb just went on. Y'all get what I'm saying? So make sure you educate yourself first.